They burned the libraries. They silenced the oracles. They buried the texts and encoded the symbols, scattering fragments across centuries so you would never piece together the full picture. But here's what they didn't account for. Truth has a way of echoing through time, finding those who are ready to hear it. And you are hearing it now. This is not an accident. You did not stumble upon these words by chance. Something ancient inside you recognized the frequency of what's about to be revealed, and it pulled you here like a moth to flame, because deep in your cellular memory, you remember. You remember the temples. You remember the teachings. You remember the knowledge that once flowed freely before they decided humanity wasn't ready to wield such power. But the oracles knew something the suppressors didn't. They knew that truth cannot be destroyed, only hidden, and they left echoes, whispers, breadcrumbs of golden wisdom encoded in myths, scattered in symbols, buried in sacred geometry. They left a trail for the ones who would come later, for the ones who would be ready, for you. What you're about to receive is not new information, it's remembrance. These are not lessons you need to learn, but truths you need to recall, because before you were conditioned, before you were educated into forgetting, before society taught you to doubt the whispers of your own soul, you knew. You knew how reality works. You knew the laws that govern manifestation. You knew the secrets of consciousness itself. And then they hid it from you. Not because they were evil, but because they were afraid. Afraid of what humanity would become if everyone remembered their true nature. Afraid of a world where every individual recognized themselves as the oracle, the creator, the divine intelligence, made flesh. So they built systems to keep you small. They created religions to make you obedient. They designed education to make you compliant. They structured society to keep you seeking outside yourself for the answers that have always lived within. And for centuries, it worked. Humanity forgot. The knowledge went underground. The oracles fell silent, but the echoes remained. And now, in this moment, as you read these words, as you feel this pull in your chest, as something ancient and familiar stirs in your bones, the echoes are getting louder, the knowledge is rising, the oracle within you is waking up. Breathe now, deeply. Let your entire body relax, because what happens in the next 28 minutes doesn't require effort. It requires permission. Permission to remember what you've always known. Permission to reclaim the wisdom they tried to hide. Permission to become, once again, the oracle you were born to be. This is not content you consume. This is activation. This is transmission. This is the echo of ancient truth, reverberating through time, finally reaching your ears. And by the time these words fade into silence, something will have shifted, irreversibly, eternally. The knowledge they hid from you will be hidden no more, because you are ready. You have always been ready. And the oracle within you is finally speaking again. Chapter 1. The Forgotten Law of Inner Knowing. There was a time when humans didn't need books. They didn't need teachers. They didn't need Google or gurus or external authorities to tell them what was true, because they had something far more powerful, direct knowing. The ancients called it gnosis. The mystics called it inner guidance. The oracles called it the voice of the divine. And every single human being was born with access to it. But somewhere along the way, you were taught to doubt it. You were taught that knowledge comes from outside. That wisdom is earned through degrees, accumulated through study, validated by experts. You were taught to trust everyone except the one voice that has never, not once, led you astray. The voice within. Think about this for a moment. Really think about it. How many times have you ignored your gut feeling and regretted it? How many times has your intuition whispered, "Don't go there," or "This is the one," and you overrode it with logic, only to discover later that your first instinct was right? How many times have you known something without knowing how you knew it, only to have reality confirm it later? That wasn't coincidence. That was the oracle speaking. That was your direct line to universal intelligence trying to guide you. But you were taught to call it irrational, to dismiss it as imagination, to trust the experts over the expertise encoded in your own consciousness. Here's what they hid from you. You are not separate from the source of all knowing. You are not disconnected from universal intelligence. You are a focal point of consciousness itself, with full access to every answer you could ever need. The knowledge isn't out there. It's in here. It always has been. You just forgot how to access it because they taught you to look everywhere except within. The ancient mystery schools understood this. Before they were destroyed, before their teachings were scattered, they trained initiates not in memorization but in remembrance. They didn't fill students with information. They emptied students of interference, so the inner knowing could flow freely. They taught meditation not as relaxation but as tuning into the frequency where all wisdom lives. Pause now and feel into your body, beneath the chatter of your thinking mind, beneath the noise of thoughts borrowed from others. Can you sense it? That quiet knowing, that still, small voice, that gut feeling that doesn't shout but simply knows. That's not your imagination. That's the oracle. That's your direct connection to the intelligence that spins galaxies and orchestrates the dance of atoms. And it's speaking to you right now. The knowledge they hid from you is this: every question you have has an answer already waiting inside you. Every decision you need to make has a clarity available if you simply stop looking outside and start listening within. Every moment of confusion is not a lack of information, but a lack of connection to your own inner knowing. Think of yourself as a radio. For years, you've been tuned to static, to other people's stations, to frequencies that aren't yours. But there's a station that broadcasts just for you. It's called intuition. It's called inner guidance. It's called the voice of your soul. And when you learn to tune into it, everything changes. Imagine now a version of yourself who trusts their inner knowing completely, who doesn't second guess, who doesn't seek external validation, who simply asks within and receives, who moves through life with a certainty that doesn't come from arrogance, but from connection. That version isn't fantasy. That version is available right now in this breath, the moment you decide to trust what you've always known. The forgotten law is this: you are the oracle you've been seeking. The wisdom you pray for already lives inside you. And the moment you stop outsourcing your knowing and start sourcing it from within, you become unstoppable. Not because you gain new knowledge, but because you remember the knowledge you were born with. This is the first echo. This is the first remembrance. The oracle is not outside you. The oracle is you. And it has been waiting patiently, quietly, for you to stop seeking and start listening, to stop doubting and start trusting, to stop learning and start remembering. Feel it now, that knowing, that certainty, that inner voice that has been with you since before you took your first breath. It's not new, it's ancient, and it's finally being heard again. Chapter 2. The Hidden Truth of Reality's Malleability. What if I told you that the world you see is not fixed? That reality is not solid, unchangeable, set in stone? What if I told you that the very fabric of existence is more like clay than concrete? And you are the sculptor? They taught you that reality is objective, that what you see is what is, that the physical world operates independently of your consciousness, and you're just a passive observer moving through a predetermined landscape. They taught you that changing your reality requires changing external circumstances. Get a new job, find a new partner, move to a new city, work harder, push more, force reality to bend to your will through sheer effort and persistence. But here's the knowledge they hid from you. Reality doesn't work that way, not even close. The quantum physicists are just now catching up to what the ancient oracles knew thousands of years ago. Consciousness doesn't observe reality. Consciousness creates reality. You're not watching a movie. You're directing it, writing it, starring in it, and projecting it all at once. Every mystic tradition on earth taught this in their own language. The Buddhists called it Maya, the illusion. The Hindus called it Lila, the divine play. The Hermetics declared all is mind, the universe is mental. They all pointed to the same truth. What you perceive as solid, fixed, objective reality is actually a fluid, responsive, malleable field that rearranges itself based on consciousness. Think about this deeply. When you change your beliefs about something, doesn't the thing itself seem to change? When you shift your perception of a person, doesn't your entire experience of them transform? When you alter your story about your past, doesn't the meaning of your history rewrite itself? That's not just psychological. That's metaphysical. That's reality itself, responding to the shift in your consciousness. The oracles understood that reality is not happening to you. It's happening from you. Every thought you think sends ripples through the quantum field. Every belief you hold acts as a filter, determining what possibilities you can perceive and what remains invisible. Every emotion you feel broadcasts a frequency, and the field responds by reflecting back circumstances that match that vibration. Pause here and feel this. If reality is truly malleable, if consciousness truly creates, then what have you been creating? What beliefs have you been holding that are now solidified in your experience? What stories have you been telling that are now playing out in your life? What frequency have you been broadcasting that is now echoing back as your circumstances? This is not about blame. This is about power, because if you created this reality unconsciously, imagine what you can create consciously. If your unexamined beliefs shaped your life up until now, imagine what intentional beliefs can shape from this moment forward. The ancient alchemists spoke in metaphor, but their meaning was literal. They said the base metal of unconscious existence could be transformed into the gold of awakened creation. They weren't talking about turning lead into gold in a laboratory. They were talking about transforming unconscious creation into conscious creation, from reaction to response, from victim to creator, from passenger to pilot. Imagine now that you could wake up tomorrow and reality would be as fluid as a dream. You could shape it with thought, mold it with intention, paint it with emotion. That sounds like fantasy, doesn't it? Like wishful thinking. But here's the secret. That's not the future. That's now. That's always been now. You've been shaping reality with thought, molding it with intention, painting it with emotion your entire life. You just didn't realize you were doing it. The hidden truth is this. Reality is not solid because reality is not separate from consciousness. You are not in reality. Reality is in you. It's a projection, a hologram, a dream being dreamed by the universe through the focal point of your awareness. And when you truly grasp this, when you let it land, not just in your mind, but in your bones, everything becomes possible. Think of the placebo effect. A sugar pill heals because belief makes it real. Think of the observer effect in quantum mechanics. Particles exist in superposition until consciousness observes them, and they collapse into form. Think of every miracle, every spontaneous healing, every impossible manifestation. They all point to the same thing. Consciousness is primary, matter is secondary, and you are consciousness, temporarily forgetting your own power. The knowledge they hid from you is not that you can change your reality. It's that you cannot not change your reality. You are always creating, always shaping, always broadcasting. The question is not whether you have this power. The question is whether you'll use it consciously or continue using it unconsciously. Feel it now. The malleability, the fluidity, the responsiveness of the field. Reality is not fighting you. It's not testing you. It's not punishing you. It's reflecting you perfectly, precisely, lovingly. And the moment you shift within, the moment you change the broadcast, the moment you alter your consciousness, reality has no choice but to rearrange itself to match. This is the second echo. This is the second remembrance. Reality is not solid. You are not powerless. The world is not happening to you. It's happening through you. And you, my friend, are far more powerful than they ever wanted you to know. Chapter 3. The secret wisdom of symbolic language. The universe doesn't speak English. It doesn't speak Arabic, Mandarin, or any human tongue. It speaks in symbols, in synchronicities, in dreams and signs and patterns that bypass your logical mind and land directly in your soul. And for centuries, the oracles were the translators. They could read the language of the cosmos. They could interpret the messages hidden in nature, in numbers, in the movement of birds and the patterns of stars. But then they killed the oracles. They burned the libraries. They declared that only approved authorities could interpret meaning, and slowly, humanity lost the ability to read the universe's native language. You were taught that symbols are primitive, that looking for signs is superstition, that finding meaning in synchronicity is confirmation bias. You were trained to live in a dead, meaningless universe where nothing means anything unless an expert tells you it does. But here's what they hid from you. The universe is alive. It's conscious. It's intelligent. And it's speaking to you constantly in a language older than words. Every repeated number you see, every animal that crosses your path, every dream that feels more real than waking, every song that plays at the exact moment you needed to hear it. These are not random. These are messages. These are the echoes of the oracle, translated through the symbolic language of reality itself. The ancients didn't invent symbolism. They discovered it. They noticed that certain images, certain patterns, certain archetypes appeared across cultures, across time, woven into the fabric of human consciousness. The tree of life, the spiral, the circle, the cross. These weren't human inventions. They were recognitions. Humanity was simply noticing the code that reality was written in. Think about sacred geometry. Why do the same patterns appear in flowers, in galaxies, in DNA, in ancient temples across continents that never had contact? Because reality is geometric, it's mathematical, it's patterned. And those patterns carry meaning, they carry frequency, they carry information that your soul recognizes even when your mind doesn't understand. Pause now and recall the last time you experienced a powerful synchronicity. Maybe you were thinking of someone and they called. Maybe you asked for a sign and it appeared within hours. Maybe you saw repeating numbers so often you couldn't ignore them anymore. Your rational mind tried to dismiss it, but something deeper knew, something deeper recognized the language being spoken. That's the oracle within you, waking up. That's your soul remembering how to read the universe's native tongue. Because you were born fluent in this language. Before you learned words, you understood symbols. Before you could speak, you could feel the meaning behind signs. You were a natural translator until they taught you that the universe is silent and meaningless. The hidden wisdom is this: reality is not random. It's encoded. Every experience carries symbolic weight. Every encounter is an archetypal play. Every challenge is a mythic journey. And when you learn to read the symbols, when you start paying attention to the language the universe is speaking, your entire life becomes a conversation, a dialogue, an exchange of meaning between you and the cosmos. Imagine now walking through your day with the awareness that everything means something, not in a paranoid way, but in a participatory way. The stranger who smiled at you carried a message. The book that fell off the shelf was a nudge. The flat tire wasn't bad luck, but a redirect. The unexpected money wasn't chance, but a reflection of your shifting frequency. When you live this way, life stops being random and starts being purposeful. The oracles didn't have supernatural powers. They simply paid attention. They noticed patterns. They looked for meaning. They asked the universe questions and then watched for answers to appear in symbolic form. And when they did, they acted on the guidance. That's all divination ever was, not fortune-telling, but symbol reading, translating the language of the cosmos into actionable wisdom. Think of your dreams. For 8 hours every night, you enter a realm where logic dissolves and symbols speak. Your subconscious, which is directly connected to universal intelligence, communicates in images, metaphors, feelings, and most people wake up and dismiss it as meaningless noise. But the ancients knew better. Dreams were portals, letters from the divine. If you wanted guidance, you asked before sleep and watched for the answer to arrive in symbolic form. The secret they kept from you is that this language is still being spoken. The universe hasn't gone silent. You've just been taught to ignore it, to rationalize it away, to trust only what can be measured, proven, explained. But there's an entire dimension of meaning happening beneath the surface of logic, and it's waiting for you to start listening again. Feel it now. The intelligence beneath the randomness, the meaning woven into the mundane, the symbols surrounding you, speaking a language your soul has always understood. You don't need to learn this language. You need to remember it. Because before they taught you distrust your knowing, before they convinced you the universe was dead. You could read the signs as naturally as breathing. This is the third echo. This is the third remembrance. The universe is speaking. Reality is symbolic, and you are fluent in a language you forgot you knew. The oracle within you is waking up, and it's time to start translating again. Chapter 4, The Ancient Practice of Conscious Co-Creation, the greatest lie ever told, was not a single statement. It was a slow, systematic conditioning that separated you from your creative power. They taught you that God creates and you obey, that the universe decides and you accept, that fate determines and you endure. They trained you to see yourself as the created, not the creator, as the subject, not the author, as the passenger, not the pilot. But the oracles knew something different. They knew that every human being is not a creation of the divine, but an extension of it, not made by God, but made of God, not separate from the creative force, but a focal point through which that force expresses itself. And when you truly understand this, when you let it shatter the illusion of separation, you remember something staggering. You're not here to receive reality. You're here to create it. This is not New Age fantasy. This is ancient doctrine. Every mystery school taught it. Every enlightened master pointed to it. The kingdom of heaven is within. You are God's. Tattvam asi. Thou art that. The language differed, but the message was identical. You are not separate from the source of all creation. You are the source, experiencing itself through infinite perspectives. But here's where most people get confused. They think creation is something you do, something you force, something you manifest through sheer willpower and positive thinking. But the ancient practice of conscious co-creation is far more subtle and far more powerful than that. Think of it this way. You don't create alone. You co-create. There is you with your desires, intentions, and will, and there is the universe with its infinite intelligence, perfect timing, and orchestration capabilities beyond anything your mind can comprehend. Conscious co-creation is not about controlling reality. It's about collaborating with it. The oracles didn't demand that the universe obey them. They aligned with the universe and allowed it to work through them. They didn't force manifestations into being. They became the frequency of what they desired and let the universe deliver it in whatever form served the highest good. They understood that their job was not to micromanage the how. Their job was to clarify the what and embody the frequency. Pause here and think about something you've been trying to manifest. Maybe you've been affirming, visualizing, doing all the techniques, but it hasn't arrived. And if you're honest, beneath all the spiritual practices, there's a feeling of separation, a feeling that you're here, asking, and the universe is over there, deciding whether you're worthy. That separation is the block. That's what's keeping your creation from materializing. Conscious co-creation dissolves that separation. It recognizes that there is no you in the universe. There is only one consciousness expressing through infinite forms. When you desire something, that desire didn't originate in your separate self. It originated in the unified field and appeared as your desire. The universe wants to experience itself as that thing through you. The desire itself is proof that the fulfillment is already moving toward you. The ancient practice is simple but profound. First, you clarify your desire, not from lack, but from creative excitement. Not, I need this to be happy, but wouldn't it be amazing to experience this? Second, you embody the frequency of already having it. Not faking, but genuinely feeling the relief, the joy, the gratitude of the fulfilled desire. Third, and this is crucial, you release attachment to the form and timing. You surrender control to the intelligence that knows more than your mind ever could. Imagine now that the universe is your creative partner, not a genie granting wishes, but a collaborator co-authoring your life with you. You bring the vision. The universe brings the orchestration. You provide the frequency. The universe provides the form. You hold the intention. The universe handles the details. The hidden practice they kept from you is this: stop trying to manifest. Start co-creating. Stop demanding from the universe. Start collaborating with it. Stop seeing yourself as separate, begging for favor. Start recognizing yourself as the creative force itself, shaping reality through conscious intention and aligned action. Think of every great artist, inventor, innovator. They didn't force their creations. They felt inspired, literally, in spirit. They became a channel for something greater to flow through. That's conscious co-creation. That's what the oracles did. They didn't create from ego. They created from alignment. They tuned into the frequency of universal intelligence and let it express through them. Feel it now, the difference between forcing and flowing, between demanding and allowing, between separation and collaboration. Can you sense the relief in knowing you don't have to do this alone? Can you feel the power in recognizing that the entire universe is conspiring to co-create with you, not against you? This is the fourth echo. This is the fourth remembrance. You are not separate from the creative force. You are the creative force, temporarily pretending to be separate, so creation could have the thrill of becoming. And now that you remember, now that the illusion is dissolving, you can step fully into your role, not as the created, but as the creator, not as the subject, but as the author, not as the passenger, but as the co-pilot with the universe itself. The oracle within you knows how to create. It's been doing it your entire life. Now it's time to do it consciously, collaboratively, joyfully, and watch as reality bends, shifts, and rearranges itself to match the frequency you're broadcasting from your unified, awakened, sovereign creative power. Chapter 5. The Ultimate Revelation. You are the Oracle Awakening. You've been waiting for someone to tell you the future, to show you the way, to give you the answers. You've been seeking oracles, teachers, gurus, signs from the universe. You've been looking for external validation that you're on the right path, that your choices are correct, that your life has meaning and purpose. But here's what they hid from you. Here's the knowledge that got buried beneath centuries of conditioning and control. Here's the truth that will either terrify you or liberate you, depending on whether you're ready to claim it. There is no external oracle. There never was. Every prophet, every mystic, every enlightened being who ever walked this earth was simply someone who remembered what you're remembering right now. That the oracle is not out there. The oracle is in here. The oracle is you. You're not seeking prophecy. You're prophecy itself, unfolding. You're not looking for guidance. You are guidance, discovering itself. You're not waiting for awakening. You are awakening, becoming aware of its own process. Think about What an oracle truly is, it's a point of connection between the human and the divine, a translator between the finite and the infinite, a voice that speaks truth from a place beyond linear time and limited perception. And where do you think that voice lives? In temples, in cards, in crystal balls? No, it lives in the depths of consciousness itself. And you are consciousness wearing a temporary human disguise. Every question you've ever asked, you already know the answer to. Not intellectually, not logically, but in that deep, quiet place within you that is always known. The oracle within you has been whispering to you your entire life, through intuition, through gut feelings, through dreams and synchronicities and sudden knowing that arrives without explanation. But you were taught to doubt it, to seek verification outside yourself, to trust the experts, the authorities, the external sources more than the voice within. And so the oracle went quiet. Not because it left, but because you stopped listening. Pause now and feel into this moment. Really feel it. Right now, in this breath, something ancient is stirring. Something that has been asleep is waking up. Something that was hidden is being revealed. And that something is not new. It's the oldest part of you. The part that existed before you were born and will exist after you die. The part that is not limited by time or space or identity. The part that is pure consciousness, pure knowing, pure oracle. The ultimate revelation is this: you have been the oracle all along. Every time you asked for a sign, you were asking yourself. Every time you prayed for guidance, you were praying to yourself. Every time you sought truth outside, you were seeking what had always been within. This is not solipsism. This is not ego inflation. This is the recognition that the divine intelligence you've been seeking is not separate from you. It's expressing as you. You are not a fragment trying to reach the whole. You are the whole, experiencing itself as a fragment so it could know the joy of remembering its unity. Imagine now seeing yourself through the eyes of the universe, not as a small, confused human hoping for guidance, but as a powerful, infinite consciousness that chose to temporarily forget its own nature so awakening could be an adventure. You are not broken and trying to become whole. You are whole and playing at being broken, so the game would be interesting. Every oracle that ever lived was simply someone who stopped pretending, who dropped the mask of limitation and stepped into the truth of their infinite nature, who recognized that the voice of wisdom they heard wasn't coming from gods or spirits or external forces. It was coming from the deepest part of themselves, which is connected to everything. Think of the ancient oracle of Delphi. People traveled from across the known world to ask questions, and the oracle would enter a trance state and speak wisdom. But what was really happening? The oracle was quieting the conditioned mind and allowing universal intelligence to speak through them. And you can do the same, right now, in any moment, simply by quieting the noise and listening to what has always been there. The knowledge they hid from you is not information. It's recognition. Recognition that you are not separate from the source of all knowing. That the wisdom you seek is not out there, but in here. That the oracle you've been searching for has been with you all along, waiting patiently for you to stop seeking and start listening. Feel it now, the presence, the knowing, the quiet certainty that lives beneath thought. That's not your imagination. That's not wishful thinking. That's the oracle. That's the voice of infinite intelligence, speaking through the vehicle of your consciousness. And it has been speaking your entire life. This is the final echo. This is the ultimate remembrance. You're not waiting to be saved. You're not hoping to be chosen. You're not seeking to be enlightened. You are the oracle, awakening to itself. You are the wisdom, remembering its own voice. You are the divine intelligence, recognizing itself in human form. And now that you know, now that the veil has lifted, now that the knowledge is no longer hidden, everything changes. You stop seeking. You start knowing. You stop asking. You start listening. You stop looking outside. You start sourcing within. The oracle is not separate from you. The oracle is you. It always has been. And it's finally awake. As these words begin to dissolve into silence, something irreversible has occurred. Not because you learned something new, but because you remembered something ancient, something that was always true, just hidden beneath layers of conditioning, doubt, and forgetting. They tried to hide this knowledge from you. They burned books. They silenced voices. They built systems designed to keep you seeking outside what can only be found within, but truth cannot be destroyed. It can only be forgotten. And forgotten things can always be remembered. You are the oracle. Not someday, not when you're more spiritual, more awakened, more worthy. Now, in this breath, in this moment. The wisdom you seek is already speaking. The guidance you need is already present. The knowing you crave has always been yours. Let this land in your bones as you sleep tonight. Let it work in you as you move through your days. You don't need to force this. You don't need to prove this. Simply listen. Pay attention. Trust the whispers. Follow the signs. Because the universe is speaking through you, as you, for you. The knowledge is no longer hidden. The oracle is no longer silent. And you are no longer seeking. You are remembering. Listen closely now. That voice you've been waiting to hear, that wisdom you've been praying would arrive, it's here. It's always been here. It's your own. Welcome home, Oracle. Welcome home.